What happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators in Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
Because black people tend to be in lower economic statuses.
So you think that poverty equals crime?
It's highly correlated.
This is where we disagree. What an insult to the working poor of this country.
So why do you think black people commit more crime?
Well, first of all, what percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
25%. 75% of black youth are raised without a father in the home. It is the most predictable way to end up in prison. It's not a white supremacy problem. It's a fact that black fathers impregnate women and they don't stay around with the women.
Hello guys, welcome to Auntie Yami channel. How are you doing? Today I'm going to talk about Charlie Kirk, who was an American right-wing political activist. He was shot on 10th September 2025 while he was addressing an audience on the campus of Utah Valley University, Orem, Utah, United States. Guys, before I start, I want to say I condemn what happened to him. I don't support people being denied or die because of freedom of speech. However, I'm going to say sometimes this word freedom of speech is a bit complicated. I don't know how you people, you understand it. But the whole video today is about speeches made by former US President Barack Obama. I came across his speeches where I saw a leader who is there not to take sides, who is there behaving very professional, and who is there not to divide. And I saw a leader who is there to condemn such doings and also doesn't take any grudges. Because Charlie Kirk was someone who was an activist, but whenever he's speaking, most of his speeches divided a lot of people around the world. I don't really know much about him, but since what happened to him, that's where I've learned a lot because of different sources, how people are thinking. So before I analyze all this speech made by President Barack Obama, who was the former president of America, I will play these videos, but also play some of the videos from other people on how they think about the whole scenario. What are they saying? Are we living in a world where freedom of speech is about hate, is about division, or is about targeting certain group of people? Listen and listen carefully as you continue to subscribe, like, comment, and share.
What happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators in Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The central premise of our of our democratic system is that we have to be able to disagree and have sometimes really contentious debates without resort to violence. And when it happens to some, but even if you think they're quote unquote on the other side of the argument, that's a threat to all of us. And we have to be clear and forthright in condemning it. Obviously, I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I was generally aware of some of his ideas. I think those ideas were wrong. But that doesn't negate the fact that what happened was a tragedy and that I mourn for him and his family. He's a young man with 2 small children and a wife who obviously, and a huge number of friends and supporters who cared about him. And so we have to extend grace to people during their period of mourning and shock. And so when I hear not just our current president, but his aides, who have a history of calling political opponents vermin, enemies, who need to be targeted, that speaks to a broader problem that we have right now. And something that we're going to have to grapple with, all of us. And so when I hear not just our current president, but his aides, who have a history of calling political opponents vermin, enemies, who need to be targeted, that speaks to a broader problem that we have right now. And something that we're going to have to grapple with, all of us, whether we're Democrats, Republicans, independents. We have to recognize that on both sides, undoubtedly there are people who are extremists and who say things that are contrary to what I believe are America's core values. But I will say that those extreme views were not in my White House. I wasn't embracing them. I wasn't empowering them. I wasn't putting the weight of the United States government behind extremist views. And that is when we have the weight of the United States government behind extremist views, we've got a problem. And so your original question is, are we at an inflection point? We're at an inflection point in the sense that we always have to fight for our democracy. And we have to fight for those values that have made this country the envy of the world. And I often say democracy is not self-executing. It depends on us as citizens, regardless of our political affiliations, to stand up for certain core values, because otherwise we may not have them.
You've heard explanation from President Obama. That's why I'm saying, does freedom of speech tells us to discriminate certain group of people because of their color or undermine their intelligence or wisdom? Does it mean that if certain group of people I might call people of color, because does it mean that you have to segregate people of color thinking that they are not valued? Is that freedom of speech? Do you believe that freedom of speech has to be used as a weapon to preach hate or to abuse, I'll say that, or to make others look very low? Is that freedom of speech? Obama thinks before talking. If you can see, Obama did not just come like might be how I am talking about discrimination or this is a hate, because he was very careful on what he's saying. Does freedom of speech makes our leaders to discriminate or to choose others over others? Because as I've heard, this guy was someone whom each and every supporter said what he was talking about is freedom of speech. If we are teaching our kids who are future generation to be segregating or choosing or discriminating other group of people around the world, is that a right way to train them? I repeat, I'm not saying that I'm here to support what happened, but I'm here also to express how I feel about this whole situation. If leaders are supporting these acts, as I've heard that this guy is gonna be made as a hero. He is a hero there in America. What are we teaching our future generation? Anyway, I'm not here to talk much, but let's continue to subscribe, like, comment, and share. According to sources, Kirk said we shouldn't have empathy. So why is it that the US government, they are asking people to have empathy? And he stated that we shouldn't have empathy. Did Charlie Kirk died for free speech? You are the one, guys, to explain to me, because I don't understand. But also hear what President Obama said, because he made a lot of speeches which other people enjoyed, which other people did not like it. They were against it. Now this happened. Don't condone what happened to him, as I repeat. It's the worst thing to happen in 21st century, I repeat. But did he created his own enemies in the name of freedom of speech? Guys, do you think sometimes freedom of speech can create your own enemies? Because if you are targeting certain groups, certain individuals, sometimes you feel like you've got a lot of support, but that can even turn against you. I feel sorry to his family and kids. I know they are still young because he was a young guy. Is freedom of speech, once again, hate or racism or targeting certain group of people? You tell me in the comment section. I'm not a good judge, but let's hear what others are saying as we continue to subscribe, like, comment, and share.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated, but I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half-staff, calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land, and hearing people with selective rage who were mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home tell me I ought to have compassion for the death of a man who had no respect for my own life. I am sorry, but there's nowhere in Bible where we are taught to honor evil. And how you die does not redeem how you lived. You do not become a hero in your death when you are a weapon of the enemy in your life. I can abhor the violence that took your life, but I don't have to celebrate how you chose to live. I am overwhelmed.
I didn't know that much about Charlie Kirk before, and so I did begin to get into what he taught. And I just have to tell you that everything I read opposed my understanding of Jesus' teaching. And I want to say that, my understanding of Jesus' teaching. I'm not saying we can't have a discussion about that. I would encourage that. But the way I'm understanding what Jesus taught and what Charlie Kirk was teaching seemed to be in juxtaposition. Here's just some examples. He said this: black women do not have the processing power to be taken seriously. You have to steal a white person's slot. He said, I can't stand the word empathy. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term and does a lot of damage. He said, we made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act of the 1960s. Martin Luther King was awful. He's not a good person. He said, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. He said, LGBTQ is a social contagion. I am 180 degrees opposed to every one of those statements. And I think Jesus would be too, but I'm not equating my consciousness by any means with that of Jesus. But just my understanding of Jesus' teaching, where the kingdom and the reign of God is about including everyone, not judging everyone, reaching out to the most vulnerable, not judging them, not putting them down, right? Not diminishing the image of God by treating other human beings as objects. I'm sorry. And you see, this is not confined nor originating with Charlie Kirk. And God bless his family and friends and all those who are mourning him. But this, his words, in some ways, may end up being elevated more because of the recent event. And even his followers are saying that.
So I've got an article here where I have to read because I need to understand. Is freedom of speech the way of discriminating or promoting hate? What are they saying? Freedom of speech does not mean freedom to discriminate. It is codified right with limitations to prevent hate speech, which incites violence or hatred against groups based on protected characteristics. Communication that attacks or discriminates against individuals or groups because of their religion, ethnicity, gender, or other protected traits is considered hate speech and is not protected by freedom of expression laws. This is not me. So, as you can hear, freedom of speech is not about hate. It's not about promoting division. It's not about segregating certain type of individual. If it's like that, then it's hate speech. There's no freedom about it. So you are your own judge. Do you believe that this was freedom of speech? Do you believe that sometimes this word freedom of speech is being manipulated? Because at the end of the day, that term was brought up. It's about human rights. But Is it about hate? Is it about racism? Is it about you name it? Now, you can see how freedom of speech, if it's not done accordingly, it can bring hate. And that hate can cost someone's life as how it happened. I repeat, I condone that. I really condone that. And my advice to others is about to be careful of what we call freedom of speech. And to understand that freedom of speech is not hate speech. Freedom of speech is not targeting certain individuals, calling them names, undermining them, undermining their wisdom, their intelligence, and using God's name to promote hate speech. I don't believe that our God is a God of hate speech. No, it doesn't work like that. So guys, I want each and every of you to comment and let me know what you think about the whole saga. Remember, God created everyone. There are people out there who are even intelligent more than others. God created every man in his image. He did not choose that one over that one. No, it doesn't work. You might be better on something else, but it doesn't mean that it's everything. The world needs good leaders like Obama, who can make a judgment accordingly. We need leaders who are there not to discriminate, who are there not to promote any hate, but who are there to unite us, who are there to wait for each and everyone to show what skills or what they can do better. There is no one who is better than everyone, than anyone, another person. Maybe I have to say that. But this world is turning into a laughing joke. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much. God bless you abundantly. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Mwah.